Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm your humble host, Kevin Kietzman. It's great to be with you on a Tuesday. We got a lot of news coming up very shortly here on Jackson County, the future of Frank White, the Royals, the Chiefs, and everything that's going on in this saga that's been going on for years. And in many ways, it feels like it's about to end. And in other ways, it feels like it has only just begun. It is some craziness. We got some other great subjects on the show today as well, and we're going to be giving away tickets to see Kid Rock Saturday night at T-Mobile Center. We'll give away 2 sets of those tickets at 10:45 because the phones didn't work yesterday. They worked. They just didn't work properly. They were sending you down to another radio station. When you called this one, you were getting the other one, but I'm told that's been fixed, and we will be able to take your calls today, and I think we're going to get some calls today on what we will lead with today, and we're going to start with the facts of the situation. Through multiple sources, I have confirmed that the effort to recall Jackson County Executive Frank White has all the signatures it needs. They have 50,000 signatures. A company was hired to basically go get these signatures. This was not some grassroots thing. It was a $200,000 project to get the signatures, to get a ballot initiative to recall Frank White. Deposit money was put down for about 25%, which means there's a balance of $150,000, and they now have the signatures to do this and don't have the money. It was their understanding in Jackson County that as soon as they got the signatures to recall Frank White, that the Chiefs and the Royals would pay for it. And they would have these signatures, they'd go to the courthouse, they'd file the recall, and this thing would be on. And Frank White would be on his way out. Now, a short little reminder, this is never going to get to a recall with Frank White. If he gets recalled, he loses his pension. If he retires, resigns before that, he gets to keep his pension, which is for life. The point is to get the signatures, take them to Frank White and say, we have this, and they have about, 3.5 weeks left to get this recall underway this year, to get it on the ballot, and go after Frank White. And when you show him that you have it, which they can't do yet because they need $150,000 to release it, then he would resign. That all makes sense. Everybody gets that part. Now, why does everybody want Frank White out? Yes, the property tax issue is the interest of the taxpayers more than anything else. That's it. The property tax thing is the biggest part of everything for the folks, as Bill O'Reilly would say. But now let's talk about all the players in this. If you're in the legislature, if you are, with the construction heavies, if you're in the unions, if you're in all these other things, and you're tied into Jackson County and you want to see a Royals downtown ballpark or Arrowhead renovated, and you want to get something passed, an initiative for a sales tax, whatever it may be, and keep the teams there, you might want to recall Frank White. If you want your career to advance, you might want to recall Frank White. If you want to be the next county executive, you might want to recall Frank White. You can see where the odds are stacked against Frank White, that everybody at this point has a rooting interest for him to be gone. And so where's the money coming from? So I heard from somebody yesterday that there's a man, and I'll give you his name because I'm going to be speaking with him later today. He responded to my request to talk about certain things because his name kept coming up with everyone that I spoke with. He is a lawyer from Independence. His name is Phil Lavoda, and many people around Jackson County and Independence and Kansas City know who he is and his family, and they've been around for a long time, and he's a lawyer, and he might be the kind of person who would put up the $150,000, for example, if it meant, something for his law firm, or maybe he could be the interim county executive until the vote next year. I mean, there's all kinds of things. I think he'd like to be involved with keeping the Chiefs at Arrowhead. I think it's described to me that it's very personally important to him. Now, remember, everybody's got a different cause here. A lot of folks are, trying to chase a dream or improve their career, or there's even a position available on the Sports Authority. The Sports Authority is a do-nothing job appointed by the governor that pays 6 figures to do nothing. This is what these people in Jackson County, this is Jackson County politics, and it's all in one huge eye of the storm right now. And it is really hard to tell the pieces on the chessboard which ones are trying to keep the Royals, which ones are trying to keep the Chiefs, which ones are trying to improve their career, which ones are trying to make money off of this and which ones are trying to become famous. You can't figure any of this stuff out. But they all want Frank White out. And the signatures are done. This is on. They've been talking about this forever. Can we get the signatures? It's done. They owe the firm $150,000. If somebody pays the $150,000, these signatures are released and they can go for the recall. And presumably Frank White then would resign. But if these people have been working on a plan for the Royals and Chiefs for 3 years and they have nothing, I mean, the Royals have nothing in Jackson County. Zero. There's nothing on the table right now in Jackson County. A vote has failed. There's all kinds of polling. These folks are all telling me the same thing. There's all kinds of polling, and the Chiefs have this polling too, that says if the Chiefs pull away and put a vote up in August, unless some world events happen between now and then, if they put a Chiefs-only tax on the ballot in August, polling suggests it would pass. And the Chiefs could stay at Arrowhead Stadium with their own 3/8 cent sales tax or less. It could be a quarter. It could be whatever they decide the number is, that voters will approve the Chiefs. But they didn't like the idea of them together, and there's no momentum for the Royals. It makes sense. Think about it. It does. The most recent momentum for the Royals is north of the river, Clay County, where the governor of the state of Missouri is said to be very interested in working with that county and officials in North Kansas City to get the Royals across the river because he's tired of working with Kansas City and Jackson County. Who could blame him? He sat back and watched this debacle for as long as it's been going on. But I've reported the same thing. Mark Donovan, the Chiefs president, has no interest in being in Jackson County or Kansas City, Missouri. He's tired of the way it's run and wants to go to Kansas and build a brand new stadium. We do not know what Clark Hunt wants to do. The owner hasn't indicated. Both of these owners have indicated they're going to have information for us on their final plans this summer. Both have indicated the timeline is before any vote that it could occur in August. But now we sit here and we have the ability to move Frank White out as if at the 23rd hour that's going to save Jackson County or keep the Royals there or whatever. I don't know what Royals location it would be. Washington Square Park? I don't know. It is sounding more and more from most people like Kansas is a wild underdog to get the Royals, that it's going to be next to impossible. It is also historic in Missouri that Missouri saves baseball teams and lets football teams go. That's just fact. I mean, the fact the Cardinals didn't get a better deal when they built the new Busch Stadium is astounding to me because anything they asked for, they could have gotten. Missouri and baseball are a thing. And I think they want the Royals, maybe not necessarily more than the Chiefs, but it takes two to tango, right? And I think that's going to be the best mashup in Missouri. Missouri has waved goodbye to 2 NFL teams in St. Louis, and they're not really losing one if they go across the state line to Kansas. 10 days a year when there's a game, they lose some tax revenue. Those days. The Chiefs are not a Missouri corporation. Best of my knowledge, they've been a Texas corporation with all kinds of tax havens in Fiji. That's right. That's right. The Chiefs are a Texas corporation with tax shelters in the Fiji Islands. That's how they do business. Here's what won't happen. Nobody's hoodwinking the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to get exactly what they want at whatever point they want it. They will win. They will negotiate the best possible deal for themselves. They will make money. The NFL is a monster. It is a cash cow. It is a monster. Clark Hunt's going to get exactly what he wants. We don't know what that is. He hasn't played his hand. We know what Mark Donovan's hand is, the team president, but we don't know whether Clark Hunt is still clutching on to Arrowhead is Lambeau Field or Arrowhead is Fenway Park. And my daddy built it. We don't know if he's clutching onto that. Or if he's looking at potentially, certainly hundreds of millions, but likely over time, billions of dollars more money by building a new stadium and hosting Super Bowls and Final Fours and events like that. Now, my experiences with Clark and the Chiefs has always been money driven. I know they don't care about loyalty to a radio network like Cumulus that was with them for 30 years. They'll dump you in a heartbeat if somebody else offers more money. They don't care. Money, money, money. Everything you would say about an owner having to do with being greedy and wanting money, you can apply to the Chiefs. But it's not an insult. He's great at what he does. There's no reason he can't simultaneously be great at business for his organization and be great on the field and win Super Bowls. Clark Hunt is not cheap. Don't take the two as separate entities. You can't just sit here and say, okay, he's getting all this money, so he must be cheap. That's not how that works. He's not cheap. He's getting all the money he can possibly get because he likes spending it. He pays his coach more than any other coach in the league. He's paying his team president more than anybody in the league. He's paying his general manager with the most expensive guys in the league. Yeah, okay, every year they get rated for their locker rooms not being very good. Well, you know what? I don't think I'd be pouring millions into my locker room for my players either when I paid him that much money and I got a new stadium coming. I'm going to wait on the tax money, tax dollars to come in and redo my locker rooms for the players. But this is dramatic, folks. This is dramatic, and I can't tell you how many different fronts this is being worked on, and they all want Frank White out. How did we get this information? How did they come to these agreements? And all of these folks working in Jackson County? And who is Phil Lavoda? And what is all this about? They had a breakfast meeting on Sunday in a public place. They were spotted. People know who these people are. They were all meeting in a public place on a Sunday morning in the most Jackson County move ever. Anybody could have seen them, known who they are. Anybody could have overheard them, like, I guess. Unbelievable Jackson County politics. Here we go. All right. We're going to do they do these heat scales or, on election day, probability of winning, or in a ball game, the computer says this and that. That's not exactly what I'm going to give you. I'm just going to keep telling you it's not a prediction. I'm not guaranteeing anything. This is just where I'm leaning today. And I'm going to lean this way. It's going to take something pretty dramatic for me to shift, I think. But I'm leaning toward the Royals finding a way to be north of the river and the Chiefs being at the Legends in KCK. If I were wagering right now, I wouldn't wager much because it's so fluid. And we could all be getting played, right? But I'm giving you facts today. This is where it is. If they want to recall Frank White, they've got it. They need $150,000 for the research company that got all the signatures to release the information, send it to the county, and get it on the ballot. It's done. It's done. Frank White's cooked. If somebody comes up with the money, the Chiefs and Royals were supposed to be the ones paying it, but they are out. They put some seed money in, but they're not going to pay for this $150 because they don't want to be seen as the people that killed Frank White's job. I think I understand that, but if that was the handshake and the agreement beforehand, it begs the question, and I've asked people, why would the Royals and Chiefs now back out on Frank White being run out of office? Why would they do that? Why would they do that? If this all started with, let's get the signatures, let's get Frank White out, let's get another initiative on the ballot in August, why would the Royals and Chiefs back out now and say they're not going to pay this? It's not the $150,000. Why would they not do it? That's why I'm leaning to Clay County and the Legends. This would be a sign that they're not interested in running Frank White out. They don't care anymore. They don't want to play politics in Jackson County. And they're both leaning toward leaving Jackson County. That's the only reason I could think of why you wouldn't pay to get these signatures released and get Frank White out, if that's what you want. If you wanted another vote and you wanted a tax referendum and you wanted to stay in Jackson County, you would pay this. And you'd get these signatures, say, we want to be here. Let's get the new executive in. Let's pass a tax and let's go. That's what you would say. But they're not doing it, and they're not paying for it. 913-408-7957. That's 913-408-7957. What say you? Truly, this is my favorite part of the show. I want to know what you think is going to happen and why, and what you make of this latest news on Frank White being on the ropes, and they're not acting on it. Next on Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
Whether you're a Jayhawk, Wildcat, Tiger, or KC Roo, we won't cancel you. Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
All right, welcome back to the show. I want to welcome all the members of the Kansas City media now listening, all of the executives in Jackson County now listening, and members of the Royals and Chiefs now listening. Thanks for joining us here on KCMO Talk Radio. It's great to have you on board. Probably should put an intern in charge of listening every day to Mundo in the morning, and then maybe first few minutes of this show, see what's going on over here. We might have some good information for you. Don't forget to tell your friends about all the things you like about KCMO Talk Radio and share it with them and get them listening as well. Appreciate them very much. We are ready to go to the phones, and we are going to start today with Steve on Uncanceled. Good morning, Steve. How are you, sir?
Kevin, good morning. Hey, like I'm telling Pete and Mark all the time, we got to cut old Frank some slack. After all, he was a pretty good ball player back in the day, and that's all I've got.
Okay. Hang on. Are you still on the line? Okay, he hung up. Okay. So let me just recount where I am with Frank White, because I don't have a dog in this fight. I really don't care. I'm telling you the truth. I don't care if both teams stay in Jackson County, both teams are north of the river, both teams are in Kansas. They split up in any iteration of those things. I don't care. I just want them here. I believe they should both have new ballparks. The only thing I'm against, really, a little bit, not a lot, but a little, is renovating Arrowhead. I just don't see the point. We did that. We've done that multiple times. If these stadiums are going to keep falling apart and they're old, let's get some new ballparks. I don't care where they are. Okay? I don't care about the state line. I don't care. As far as Frank White, when he played and post-career, when he was a guest on my show, every interaction I've ever had with the man has been friendly and warm and wonderful. I have seen him in airports signing autographs. I've seen him but I haven't talked to him in quite a while. Since he got into politics, he's been a different guy, not as approachable, whatever, which is understandable. It is my understanding that what he was saying and why he was against that vote last year is exactly the reason I was against the vote. You don't go to the taxpayers and say, give us this tax money, and we're not telling you what it's for. We don't know what it is. There was no plan. There was no plan until the very 23rd hour, right before the vote. They're like, okay, it's going to be here. Remember, they were supposed to be inside the loop, whatever they called that area in downtown. Then it was going to be down by the crossroads. Royals didn't know where they were going. There was nothing set. There was no real estate purchased. And the Chiefs put out a rendering, I'll always describe it this way, that any seventh grader could have done a better job, even if they were using crayons, and maybe a 7-year-old. It was some sort of ramp that went from tailgating to the stadium and some trees and fountains. That's all I saw. I didn't see anything that they were doing to Arrowhead with this money. It was nothing. The Chiefs didn't, this is only a hunch. Nobody's told me this. Nobody's told me the opposite of this. I will always believe the Chiefs wanted that vote to fail. I don't think they wanted to be on the ballot with the Royals. I don't think they want to be attached to the Royals, and I think they wanted it to fail. And it wouldn't surprise me if they worked behind the scenes to make it fail. So Frank White stood up on principle and said, this is no plan at all. We can't vote for this. We need a better plan. And if that indeed was his stance, I can respect that. But his problem is a whole bunch of other issues, not the stadium. Here's Leonard and Shawnee. Good morning, Leonard. How are you?
Doing good, Keith. What a great segue. Yeah, in my opinion, well, I'll almost guarantee it, the Chiefs and the Royals are going to go to Kansas. And I put this jigsaw puzzle together, and you helped me do that. Because just listening to you that one day when you said that, if Mayor Q loses the Chiefs and the Royals, then that's going to be his legacy. And then he gets on Pete's show like a week later and says, oh, well, we've got $1.4 billion. Well, I was laughing at that because I knew that he was just saying that because I think that, and I believe the Chiefs or the Royals are going to go over to Kansas, and he was just having a backup when they do go to Kansas. And so I put all these together, and that's what I firmly believe.
Okay, so I don't know where the Royals are going in Kansas. I don't think the Royals are going to Kansas. I don't know the location. I don't think they want to be. If the Chiefs are going, listen, if the Chiefs renovate Arrowhead, maybe the Royals would go to the Speedway. But that's the only way I could see it. I don't know where their location would be in Kansas, and I do think they want to be downtown or near downtown, and I think north of the river would be a great option. I love that location. I think it would create a little mini Wrigleyville down there. I think it would be really a special place for a ballpark. I do. I love that location.
I totally agree with you on that, but it comes down to money. And the $1.4 billion, the state of Missouri is not going to just blink at that, and Kansas is offering them. It's going to come down to the money. That's why the Chiefs and the Royals are going to go to Kansas.
Yeah. because the Missouri won't have the money to match. I won't say no to that. Leonard, great call as always. I'm being told that Kehoe, the governor of Missouri, is on the phone with officials in Clay County and wants to work with them and wants to get the Royals there and believes he can do that, but he really doesn't want to work with Kansas City, Missouri anymore, and he doesn't want to work with Jackson County because that's just gone on a long time in the state of Missouri and it's gone nowhere, and that they're working toward north of the river, and I think the Royals would be very open to that. Now, when we come back, I'm going to tell you one more thing about this meeting that took place on Sunday morning. I asked specifically about Mayor Q and his pledge for the money, and you won't believe what they said at this table about Mayor Q.
Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled. 10 to 11 a.m. on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Uncanceled. Great to have you with us. This meeting that took place on Sunday with a bunch of muckety-mucks in Jackson County was in the public eye, for one. The other thing that was really cool about it, I asked a couple of people that were there, and I said, what came up about Mayor Q and this $1.4 billion he says he's got for the Royals to stay in Kansas City? And he said, it came up, and everybody there howled with laughter. It was like a running punchline joke of the entire meeting on Sunday. This was a social thing as well. It was a breakfast place. They're eating, and I don't know if they're doing Sunday morning cocktails. I didn't hear that. I don't think that was the case. This was the powers that be, and they're like, this is just unbelievable that he's clutching to this. And he's been saying Kansas City, Missouri, and $1.4 billion, we've got the money. He told Pete Mundo right here on KCMO Talk Radio that he knows for a fact that there's $1.4 billion for the Royals in Kansas City for a stadium. Well, he seems to be the only person that knows about this and where that money is coming from. And so, look, a lot of these people have good relationships with the mayor. That's not it. But I just think they're looking at this one like, we're not sure politically what it was he was doing by saying this stuff because it's not there. And maybe he knows something nobody else knows. I guess that's possible. Anything's possible. Mayor Q has been the champion all along of Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, which made it really odd on Monday when one of my sources sent me a video that's on YouTube that was produced with all of the Kansas City area business people that have been championing Kansas City. These are the leaders. They're from the Chamber of Commerce. They're from the Sports Commission. They're from all types of different entities that have all been saying Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City. It's all about Kansas City. They have done a 180 on their messaging. This happened over the weekend. When I saw this video, it had only been seen 29 times. I posted it, if you want to see it, at KK Has Issues. That's at KK Has Issues on X, and you can see it right there right now. If you scroll through my timeline, you'll see where it is. You can watch this. It's Kathy Nelson from the Sports Commission. It's a bunch of really important people. You're not going to know their voices as they go through this, but it's a minute long, and they clearly are pivoting away from Kansas City, Missouri, saying, well, Kansas is okay too, and any place in our area would be just fine.
Greater Kansas City's business and civic organizations are united in a singular mission to ensure the Chiefs and Royals remain in our region for decades to come. But time is not on our side.
Which is why we urge our state and local leaders across the region and both teams to work together to create solutions that offer viable options for growth and success into the future.
While both teams are working hard to evaluate their future in KC, other markets are actively competing to lure them away.
To keep these cherished franchises in KC, we need strong, realistic, public-private partnerships that make staying home in our region the only choice.
Sports are vital to Kansas City's identity and history. It's in our DNA. The Royals and Chiefs are key to our region's economic vitality and visibility across the nation and the world.
Now is the time for our KC region to rally.
To protect the championship legacy we've built together.
To secure our region's future as a premier sports destination.
Let's keep the KC region Major League for today and for generations to come.
All right, a couple of things here are really important. The Chiefs are going nowhere. This is fake news. They do this every time. Your teams are leaving, your teams are leaving, your teams are leaving. The Chiefs are going nowhere. They're going to be in Kansas City. I can promise you they're going to be in Kansas City. I can't promise the Royals, but what I can promise you is it'll be like at least 2 years before there's 2 more years before there's any real talk of the Royals leaving. They always use these scare tactics. I appreciate them doing that. I think what they're doing is a desperation play here, either for Kansas City or Jackson County or whatever it may be. Let's try that. Let's do whatever we got to do. But this is a 180 pivot from these folks. These folks were all Kansas City, Missouri. It was all KC, KC, KC. And now it was an impressive group. You didn't hear from all of them. There were another 20 people behind those that you heard from in that spot. If you go look at it, you'll see who all these people are. And now they're like, just kidding. Anywhere in the area is fine. We want to keep, really, if you're asking me what this is about, it's let's keep the Royals. We don't want them to go to Nashville. They're not even close to going to Nashville right now. But if they got to go to Kansas to stay here, they go to Kansas to stay here. Whatever they got to do, let's keep them. I've said that all along. Our leaders don't tell you things that you hear from talk show hosts. We give you the truth, and we talk like you talk with your friends about logical, common sense things. And the common sense play from the beginning has been both teams want something really expensive. And the only thing I care about is that they stay. I'm not a tax guy. I don't like tax and spend. I don't like income taxes or anything like that on sports teams or assessments or property tax or any of that. If it becomes a sales tax, it then becomes your decision. Do you want to spend the money and pay the tax to help the teams or not? So I'm largely okay with things like that. This is a massive 180 from these people. I mean, you can't, it's hard to put into words how much of a pivot this is from everything that they're doing. Here's Brian in Kansas City on KCMO Talk Radio. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, good morning. Hey, I called a couple weeks ago. I was that veteran that was talking about the protest there at the dealership there. But, hey, I don't know. I haven't heard this anyway, so maybe somebody's already brought this up. But it seems like when it comes to the location of the Chiefs and Royals, we stick along the I-70 corridor. But I don't know if anybody's thought about going north and developing in the Gladstone, Liberty area. We've got a new airport. We have Worlds of Fun. When you go up to Smithville, the Liberty area, housing development seems to be huge. Platte County just approved a couple of years ago to develop east of the I-29 corridor. The Chiefs have been going to St. Joseph, Missouri for their training camp in the summer. It just seems like the Berry Road area, it kind of fizzed out for a time. So, I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I think both teams have done the research, and they say that's too far away from where all the money is.
Yeah, okay.
The residents. Now, it would be a better location for the Chiefs than the Royals, I think, because the Chiefs, are only 10 games a year. And if you lived in, 151st and Metcalf, you'd maybe still drive all the way to Liberty for a Chiefs home game. It wouldn't matter because most of the people in Kansas are conditioned to drive a long way to a Chiefs game anyway. But for the Royals, they want to be near where people live. They want to be really close to where people live, and their preference would be close enough to where the people with money live. I think that's what they're looking for. Not that there's not money in the Northland, don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's not as densely populated. What you've said about Platte County and Liberty and the growth and the homes, and I particularly love the golf courses up there because the land is so fantastic. I love the golf courses in the Northland. It's all true. It's not that there isn't wealth and good things and awesome things happening in Northland. That's not what I mean at all. There's just a bigger, more dense number of people with money farther south.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. That was a good one. Here's Fred in Overland Park on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, Fred.
How you doing?
Great, buddy.
Okay, there's several locations, so I'm just talking about one scenario, one place.
Okay.
I have said that I believe one of the places is staying right there. And here's the point.
For which team?
Here's the point.
Wait, which team? Which team? We got to let the listener know what you're talking about. The Royals or Chiefs or both?
Both.
Okay. So we're going to do what we did 20 years ago. We're just going to put Band-Aids on them.
No. Let me finish. There's a hell of a lot of wooded area around that entire complex. So you take that entire area, just like when they redid the grade schools a couple years ago.
Okay.
They built the new schools behind it or in front of it.
All right.
Build 2 stadiums behind where they're at, west of where they're at. You turn Kauffman Stadium into a new sandstone. You get your amphitheater. There's places there that could be converted into restaurants and all of that.
They have never done that in 50 years. Nothing's been converted to a restaurant. I don't hate the sandstone idea for Kauffman Stadium, but listen here, let's save everybody time because I got other callers. I'll make you a wager, okay? If this doesn't happen, you have to wash my car. If it does happen, I will shovel snow in your driveway for the rest of your life.
Which scenario?
I just said it. If you're right, I'll shovel all your snow, buddy. I'll shovel all your snow as long as I can. As long as I'm physically able, I'll shovel all your snow every winter. If you're right. If they build 2 new stadiums where the prison is over there, back in those hills, I'll shovel your snow for life. There you go. Doesn't happen, you got to wash my car. That's it. One simple car wash. How hard can that be? Here is Dan in Overland Park. Hi, Dan.
Yeah, Kevin. I'm just curious that the the Chiefs, I just got to believe that the state of Missouri is not going to let the Chiefs get out. The state of Missouri's already lost 2 NFL franchises.
And they didn't care.
And
I mean, they had a
local
billionaire. They had a local billionaire from Missouri that literally left for Los Angeles because they wouldn't step up and do anything for him. That was a local person, Stan Kroenke.
But wasn't he already building a stadium in L.A.?
No, he went through years of fighting, trying to get something done in St. Louis and couldn't get it done.
See, I did not know that.
Yeah. And what he did, by the way, was brilliant. He built his own stadium, and now the Chargers rent from him, and it's considered by many the greatest stadium on earth.
So Missouri really doesn't care about these kind of things.
Well, they've let football teams leave twice. And if Kansas is sitting there wanting to pony up $2 billion for the Chiefs, they don't really lose them. They're just losing them across the state line. It's not a bunch of revenue or anything like that. It's 10 games a year. And it's still the Kansas City Chiefs. What I think Missouri wants is to keep the Royals because it's so many more dates, and the Royals are talking about building economic development around a ballpark, which would be good for the state of Missouri.
Yeah,
but I also got plenty of people saying, I got plenty of people telling me they're convinced that the Chiefs are staying at Arrowhead. So that can happen too.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I'm a lifelong Kansan, but I just thought that after losing 2 teams for a pride basis, the state of Missouri wouldn't let.
You would think
let the third go away.
You would think. I'm with you, and I'm going to guess as a fellow Kansan, you don't care if they both stay in Missouri. We're fine with that. This region spot that I just played for you about this being a region, that's all I've wanted from the start. You had literally had people in Kansas City, Missouri. It was the most pathetic argument ever. Mayor Q and the rest running around saying, no, it's Kansas City, Missouri, it's Kansas City, Missouri, and we don't compete here. We have an agreement that we don't compete against each other. Well, bury your Democrat head in the sand. Good God. You got a Major League Baseball team and an NFL team, and you don't think there's going to be competition. And now you're saying you don't care. It's a region. We just hope they stay. Kansas City, Missouri is lucky that nobody else has built an airport, for crying out loud. I mean, there's just so many things that are so wrong about the way they look at it. And if they both stay in Kansas City again, I'm fine with that. I don't think that's going to be the outcome, but I'm fine with it. Here's Chris in Leawood. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Thank you for taking my call. You've been doing this for a long time, so you know that the point of this whole stadium conversation for the last 30 years is how to get the Kansas City Royals in or near downtown Kansas City.
Right.
Once the Harry Truman Sports Complex has removed the Royals from that site, they can build their colonnade. Arrowhead can be further renovated. It's one of the most you don't hear people in Green Bay screaming to tear down Lambeau Field. So I really think it would be, there's a lot of legacy out there.
I'm not arguing. Again, and you and Clark Hunt may be on the same page. And Clark Hunt may think Arrowhead is Lambeau, and it may be Fenway. I've been to all three, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's neither.
Right. Well, okay. It's probably better. But anyway, listen to this. Once Royal Stadium is gone, you can build Arrowhead 2 in 20 years at the old
Absolutely.
Royal
That's
site.
what we said. That's what we said in 2005. I'm done with this call. I'm running behind. Thanks for the call. In 2005, we said, let's put Band-Aids on these stadiums because we can build new ones in 20 years. Here we are. And now
time to build the new ones.
All these people in Kansas City are like, oh, no, let's just fix them up and stay where we are. We'll visit this again in 20 years. Hell yes. Let's wait until they're $5 billion each instead of building something now that lasts 50 years. Don't do today what you can kick down the road. Let's put Band-Aids on these stadiums. I don't think the teams are thinking that. When we come back, we got a piece of audio to play for you that Mark has in the computer of artificial intelligence creating a country song about beer. You won't believe this next. All right, here we go. Time to give away tickets to Kid Rock at T-Mobile Center on Saturday night. We're going to take 2 winners today, the 7th caller and the 8th caller at 913-408-7957. That's 408-7957 to see Kid Rock right now with KCMO Talk Radio.
It's Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Susan and Tim are the winners of our Kid Rock tickets today. We had to give away 2 because our phones didn't work yesterday and we couldn't do it yesterday. So that was pretty good. We got a couple of awards to give out as we went to break there. We're going to give the hold. This is a baseball analogy. The hold is the pitcher that comes in and holds the lead. Whatever. We're going to give the hold to John Anthony because it took 2 of them in there to take all these calls to get 2 winners that were actually 7 and 8. So he gets the hold. And Mark gets the save because I did this great tease for the next segment and forgot to mention Kid Rock. And he's like, Kid Rock, Kid Rock, Kid Rock. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I'm an old dog trying to learn new tricks. And by example, Pete doesn't like coach me or sit down with me or anything like that. But Pete Mundo's the best segment teaser I've ever heard in the industry. And I'm learning from him. And I gave a great tease, but I'd forgotten to mention Kid Rock.
Staying on the baseball analogies, I'm like Wade Davis. I used to be the holder. Now I can come in and do the close. You're like the Cole Reagans. Usually you're getting 10 strikeouts, but sometimes you'll let a home run off. It's not a big deal.
You get the save. Anthony gets the hold. That was an awesome deal right there. Teamwork. We love teamwork. Now, your humble host will be completely honest with you. I know nothing about artificial intelligence. I have a friend that uses it, I guess, from time to time. And I said, well, how is it different than Google? And he said, well, I guess it's not. It just does more. I still don't really get it all. But I see these things that people are saying, hey, this was made by artificial intelligence. A term paper, a story about this or that it's all out there and it's at your fingertips and there's all kinds of cool things that you can do. So this one popped up on social media and I saw it and I believe it's real, but I can't guarantee you that this is real. This could be somebody who's really talented, wrote a little ditty and recorded a minute of a song. It's not a whole song, but somebody claims that they punched into artificial intelligence, make the perfect country song about beer. And this is it.
God made guns, God made beer. One's for drinking, one's for deer. God made Jesus, he made fishing. He made me an honest Christian. God made bump stock ammunition, country gravy and fried chicken. God made tires that keep turning. God made fire that keeps burning. God made country women sexy. God made country life the best. And God made whiskey, F-150s, long dirt roads that take me home. Cowboy boots and camo koozies so my beer can stay ice cold. NASCAR racing monster trucks, horses, cows, and hogs and ducks. College football breast implants, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. He made me and he made you and he made chicken biscuits too. He made guns and he made beer. One's for drinking, one's for deer.
That is so good. I mean, do we believe that's AI? Anybody want to chime in here? Mark, John, we believe that's AI?
I do think that is AI because I've heard some of these songs going off like that before. A country song, I've seen somebody make a rock song. They do it really well, though.
How does it do all the music part? Or does it write the words and somebody makes it? I mean, I'm totally confused by this whole thing, but it's only a minute long, but that's perfect.
The voice sounded familiar. I'm like, it sounds like a country singer.
Sure.
I didn't think that was AI. Now, I think somebody wrote that. That's pretty clever.
Really?
I kind of do.
Why couldn't AI do that?
I don't know as much about it as you do.
I
mean,
don't
you
know
can
anything.
take lyrics and just take a lyric sheet and look for the rhymes and string it together, so maybe so.
That's so
That's
good.
too comprehensive.
That's
to
so
be.
good somebody should have done it.
I do think that what they can type in is, the chords to use,
Yeah.
the type of singer, country singer, and then just a list of words that they can make a country song out of. And then it does that, which is incredible.
So I know Jerry Seinfeld's very concerned about this. He's afraid that there's just going to be all kinds of like audio albums of comedy shows that are his voice that sound just like him that are not him. Are we all going to be out of work? Can they AI this show in a few years?
I don't think, not for us because, we're doing breaking news and stuff, but maybe the music stations down the hall.
Right, but everything we do now is they write it out. It's chronicled somewhere in a computer. Like every one of my podcasts, every word is transcribed. I don't do that. It's just done. So at some point, you'd be able to ask AI, do a Kevin Kietzman Has Issues podcast. And they'll have all the files from 4 years and go, well, this is what he'd say about this topic. And they could just put it together, couldn't they?
Just send a check to the right place.
Well, now I'm looking at it the other way. I'm looking at it like we're out of work. If that's the case, I mean,
less AI, please.
Yeah, we can't have AI do our jobs for us, can we? We will all be replaced by a machine. Pretty sure that was a movie once upon a time. The Vince Show is up next.